Welcome, and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode until the question-and-answer session of today's call. At that time, you may press star 1 on your phone to ask a question. This call is also being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn today's call over to your host, Program Manager Tanya McInnes. Thank you. You may begin.
Okay. Thank you, Dylan. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Fiscal Year 2021 Bank Enterprise Award Application Webinar. Again, my name is Tanya McInnes. I am the Program Manager for the CDFI Funds Depository Institutions Initiative, also known as DII. And the DII Business Unit administers the BEA program. As a reminder, participants will be muted until we open the phone lines for questions at the end of the presentation. We are very excited to open the fiscal year 2021 funding round and pleased to announce the availability of up to $26 million for this year's funding round. By participating in this webinar, we hope to provide you with information that you will find useful when completing your application. As you can see from the agenda, we will initially provide you with a list of the program staff and contact information, and then we will provide you with an overview of the BEA program. Afterwards, we will talk about the application. Please note that this webinar is intended to complement the other sources we've made available to support you should you decide to apply for a fiscal year 2021 BEA Program Award. The other key BEA program materials that you should review include the program regulations, the fiscal year 2021 Notice of Funds Availability, also referred to as the NOFA, the fiscal year 2021 BEA program application itself, and the supplemental guidance / FAQ document. These materials can be found on the CDFI Funds website. If after participating in this webinar and reviewing these materials you still have questions, please feel free to contact the CDFI Fund. We will provide our contact information in the next few slides. Okay, so want to again share information about the team managing the 2021 BEA program funding round. Again, I am Tanya McInnes. I'm the program manager. Julie Sandler is our senior management and program analyst. He's actually on parental leave. And I am joined today by Joan Reed Patrick, who is our policy and program officer. You'll hear from Joan in a few minutes. And this slide is where we have contact information not only for the program team, staff, but also other folks that you may need or want to reach out to, including the CDFI Funds Compliance Monitoring and Evaluation Department, the Certification Policy and Evaluation Team, our IT department, grants.gov, as well as sam.gov contact information. We included the descriptions for each contact so you know who does what in case you have specific questions. Hopefully this will help you reach out to the right department to get your questions answered. Please note that the preferred way to reach the CDFI Fund offices and ask questions is by submitting an Amos service request. Those of you who are not familiar with Amos, Amos is the CDFI Fund's Awards Management Information System, or Amos. This is the CDFI Fund's applicant and award recipient electronic interface. Submitting an Amos service request will route your request to the right person in the right department to ensure your questions are answered in a timely fashion. Please note that the application includes instructions on how to submit a service request. I will now turn the presentation over to Joan Reed Patrick, who will give an overview of the BEA program. Joan?
Thank you, Tanya. Hello, everyone. I'll be providing an overview of the BEA program. First of all, the BEA program is a performance-based grant program that predates the CDFI fund. The program was first created through the Bank Enterprise Act of 1991 and subsequently through the Community Development Banking and Financial Institutions Act of 1994. The first Notice of Funds Availability, also known as the NOFA, was published the following year in 1995. The BEA program provides awards to FDIC-insured depository institutions that demonstrate increased investment in certified community development financial institutions, also known as CDFIs, and also in their own lending, investing, or service-related activities in distressed communities. The BEA program awards are retrospective and are based on demonstrated increases in BEA qualified activities from one annual reporting period, referred to as the baseline period, to the next annual reporting period, referred to as the assessment period. Since the first award round in 1996, the CDFI Fund has granted over $546 million in BEA Program Awards, and over the past 3 years, more than 92% of award recipients have been small banks or intermediate small banks. The impact of awards during this time period reflects an increase in investments in certified CDFIs by $156.8 million, an increase in loans and investments in distressed communities by nearly $1.34 billion, and an increase in financial services in distressed communities by $58 million. So this chart seen on this slide gives you an overview of the types of award recipients from the last round, which was fiscal year 2020. The data reflects the number of award recipients, their CDFI status, their asset size, and the funds awarded during the fiscal year 2020 round. Of the total amount awarded, 95.4% went to certified CDFIs, 14.3% went to minority depository institutions, some of which may also be certified CDFIs, and 92.6% went to small and intermediate small banks. So the program awarded $25.2 million, yet received over $143 million in requests. So as stated earlier, the BEA program awards are based on demonstrated increases in BEA qualified activities from one annual reporting period to the next annual reporting period. So now I'll provide additional information on the BEA qualified activities. BEA qualified activities are broken down into 3 categories, namely CDFI-related activities, distressed community financing activities, and service activities. The CDFI-related activities category consists of 2 subcategories. One is the CDFI equity-like loan, and the other is the CDFI support activities. So for CDFI equity-like loans, that includes equity investments, equity-like loans, and grants. And the CDFI support activities include deposit shares, loans, and technical assistance. The distressed community financing activities consist of direct lending or investments to residents or businesses in a BEA distressed community. Distressed community financing activities category is broken down into 2 subcategories. One is consumer loans, and the other is commercial loans and investments. So for consumer loans, that includes affordable housing, education, home improvement, and small dollar consumer loans, while commercial loans and investments include affordable housing, development, commercial real estate, and small business loans. So the final category is the service activities, and that consists of deposits, financial services, community services, targeted financial services, and targeted retail savings/investment products. One thing to note is that the definitions are all of these BEA qualified activities can be found in the glossary of the fiscal year 2021 BEA Program Supplemental Guidance and also in the interim rule, which are both posted on the BEA page of the CDFI Funds website. So in order for an investment to be considered a qualified activity, it must occur in a BEA distressed community. The census tract must meet both the geographic and economic requirements to be considered a BEA distressed community. So later in the presentation, we'll discuss how to determine whether or not a census tract meets the criteria for BEA distressed communities. The next is the economic requirement, which stipulates that at least 30% of the population has income below the national poverty level, and unemployment rate must be at least 1.5 times the national unemployment rate. The geographic requirement consists of population criteria with a distinction dependent upon the proximity to a metropolitan service area. So please note that all Indian reservations meet the geographic requirement. It is also important to note that census tracts may meet these requirements either individually or collectively when aggregated with contiguous census tracts. So now we'll talk about how the awards are calculated. The BEA Program Awards are formulaic and are prioritized based on three key factors. The first factor considered is a qualified activity type. So CDFI-related activities are awarded first, followed by distressed community financing activities, and then service activities. The second factor is the applicant's CDFI status. Certified CDFIs are prioritized over non-certified CDFIs in each qualified activity category and are calculated using a higher award percentage. And the third is the applicant's CRA asset size. The asset size is set by the three federal regulatory agencies. So in calculating the award amount, priority is given to small banks first, using a priority factor of 5, followed by intermediate banks, which received a priority factor of 3, and then large banks with a priority factor of 1. So this formulaic nature of BEA provides the flexibility to prioritize awards to organizations with specific characteristics and activity types. This chart provides a visual display of the priority factors and formulas in making an award decision based on the applicant's increase in qualified activities, their CDFI certification status, and their CRA asset size. Please note for its fiscal year 2021, the BEA program revised the CRA asset size used to establish priority factors for activities within the distressed community financing activities and service activities categories. So to be classified as a small institution, the applicant's assets as of 12/31/2020 must be less than $330 million. For intermediate to small institutions, the asset size must be at least $330 million, but less than $1.322 billion as of 12/31/2020. And for large institutions, as of 12/31/2020, the assets must be $1.322 billion or greater. Again, please refer to the fiscal year 2020 BEA program notebook for more information. I will now provide information on reporting BEA use of awards. BEA Program Awards must be reinvested in additional BEA qualified activities within a performance period of approximately 1 year. The CDFI fund requires applicants to indicate their intended use of the BEA Program Award, including their decision on whether to use up to 15% for direct administrative expenses, and also includes any commitments made to serve persistent poverty counties if it is selected. Please note all award recipients will need to report on the actual use of the award 3 months subsequent to the performance period. Also keep in mind the use of award reports are due 90 days from the end of the performance period as specified in the award agreement. I'll now turn the call back over to Tanya to talk about the application process.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk about the application, including eligibility and the application process. But just to set the framework, and as a reminder, just please know or be reminded that the BEA program, again, it makes awards to qualified applicants that successfully demonstrate an increase in BEA qualified activities from one annual reporting period to the next annual reporting period. The greater the increase, the larger the overall award. As mentioned previously, for fiscal year 2021, up to $26 million is available for funding. The baseline period for this funding round is January 1 through December 31, 2019, and the assessment period is the following calendar year, January 1 through December 31, 2020. The BEA program grant application package consists of 2 parts and are submitted in 2 separate systems. Part 1 is submitted through grants.gov, and Part 2 is the BEA program electronic application that is submitted in Amos. We'll provide more information on this later in the presentation. First, let me just talk a little bit about the eligibility requirements. All BEA applicants must be FDIC insured as of the first day of the baseline period, which is again January 1, 2019, and maintain its FDIC insured status at the time of the application submission to be eligible for consideration for a BEA program award. Bank holding companies are not eligible and should not apply. Credit unions are also not eligible and should not apply. Certified CDFIs and non-certified CDFI banks and thrifts may apply. And lastly, it is important to note that banks and thrifts that receive a fiscal year 2021 CDFI program financial assistance or technical assistance award are not eligible to receive a fiscal year 2021 BEA program award. If you are applying as a certified CDFI applicant, please note that an eligible certified CDFI applicant is an insured depository institution that is certified as of December 31, 2020, or submitted its certification application by December 31, 2020, and was certified as a CDFI as of the publication date of the 2021 BEA program NOFA in the Federal Register, which was on October 14, 2021, and maintains its status as a certified CDFI at the time BEA program awards are announced. Lastly, for BEA program applicants that make investments to a CDFI partner, that CDFI partner must have been a certified CDFI at the time the investment was made or the support was received. The CDFI partner must also demonstrate that it is integrally involved in one or more BEA distressed communities. A few things to note about integral involvement are the definition for integral involvement can be found in the BEA program NOFA. CDFI partners demonstrate that they are integrally involved in a BEA Distress community by completing the Integral Involvement Form. The NOFA and the Integral Involvement Form are available on the BEA page of the CDFI Funds website. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, the fiscal year 2021 BEA program application is submitted in two parts. Part 1 is the standard form, or SF 424 mandatory, which is submitted through grants.gov, and Part 2 is the BEA program electronic application that is submitted through Amos. And again, Amos is the CDFI Funds enterprise-wide business system and primary tool for the CDFI Fund to interface with applicants and award recipients. With respect to Part 1 of the application package, the SF424 mandatory, again, that submission is through grants.gov. In order to submit an SF424 mandatory in grants.gov, an organization must be registered in SAM.gov and have an active account. We strongly encourage you to immediately create and or check your existing SAM.gov account to make sure it is active and that your organization's information is accurate. It may take weeks to establish or update your SAM.gov account. If you do not start now, you will run the risk of missing the Part 1 grants.gov deadline. Please remember that the CDFI Fund will not consider an applicant that fails to establish or update its SAM.gov account on time. The deadline for applicants to submit their grants.gov SF424 is November 12th, 2021 by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The grants.gov submission is only considered to be acceptable when the SF424 mandatory is both submitted and validated by grants.gov before the deadline. It is important to emphasize the term that validated here. Merely submitting the SF424 mandatory in grants.gov does not mean that it was validated. And if it was not validated, it cannot be retrieved by the CDFI Fund. If it cannot be retrieved by the CDFI Fund, it will not be available to associate. It will not be available to you to associate with your BEA program application in Amos, and thus your application will be incomplete. Also, keep in mind that the CDFI Fund does not administer grants.gov or SAM.gov. So if you have any questions or issues using these systems, you will need to contact them directly. And you may recall we did provide contact information for SAM.gov and grants.gov in the previous slide. The last thing I'll mention here, which is also very important, is that the information on the SF424, again submitted in grants.gov, must match the applicant information in Amos. To many of you, this may seem obvious, but we have seen instances where the information does not match, and when it does not match, it cannot be associated with the organization's electronic application in Amos. So, for example, do not submit the SF424 mandatory in grants.gov using the bank holding company's name, EIN, or DUNS, and then attempt to submit the electronic application in Amos using the information for the bank subsidiary. Remember, bank holding companies cannot apply. Now we'll spend a few minutes talking about the electronic application that's submitted in Amos. Please note the following. The electronic application in Amos is due on December 14, 2021 by 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Applicants have up till December 14th, again at 5 p.m., to review the application, answer the environmental review questions, upload the validated SF424 mandatory, and sign the application. Applicants will not have the ability to enter, edit, or delete transactions after 5 p.m. on December 10th. Transaction fields will be locked after this date. Further, the applicant will not be able to upload or attach any required supporting documentation for qualified activities after December 10th. Now I want to spend a little bit more time talking about the Amos application process. Again, everything starts with Amos. An Amos account is required in order to apply for a BEA Program Award and complete the electronic application. If you do not currently have an account, you will need to register in Amos and create an account by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on December 10th, 2021. Here you can see that we did provide a link to guidance on how you can get started in Amos. If you have an existing Amos account, please make sure that your organization and your BEA program profiles are up to date before you begin working on your application in Amos. To help you complete the application in Amos, we also included a link to the electronic application training manual. Now I want to highlight several items and note key updates as you prepare your application. First, applicants may apply for both a CDFI Program Award and a BEA Program Award in fiscal year 2021. However, receiving a 2021 CDFI Program Award removes an applicant from eligibility for a fiscal year 2021 BEA Program Award. The next item I want to provide an update on is related to the 2011 through 2015 American Community Survey, also known as the ACS. For fiscal year 2021, BEA program applicants will be required to use the 2011 through 2015 ACS eligibility data to determine if qualified activities occurred in BEA distressed communities during the baseline period and the assessment period. The next item I want to provide an update on is related to persistent poverty counties, also known as PPCs. On December 27, 2020, Congress passed the CDFI Funds Appropriation legislation requiring that at least 10% of award dollars must be invested in PPCs. Similarly to the prior round, fiscal year 2021 BEA program applicants will be required to complete Table 8, which is the projected use of BEA Program Award table. And in doing so, indicate the minimum and maximum percentage of your estimated BEA Program Award that you will commit to deploy in BEA distressed communities that are also designated as PPCs. Applicants will enter a minimum percentage and maximum percentage ranging from 0 to 100%. Applicants are not required to commit to deploying their awards in PPCs. However, should the PPC commitment not be met during the CDFI Funds award selection process, the CDFI Fund will prioritize awards to those applicants that made PPC commitments. UNOFA offers additional information regarding priorities that may be implemented in the award selection process if the 10% PPC requirement has not been met. Another update is related to the CDFI Fund Information Mapping System, also known as SIMS. For fiscal year 2021 BEA program applicants, will not be required to enter the census tract 11-digit number for BEA Qualified distressed community, and service activities in Amos. The census tract 11-digit number will automatically be generated when an address is entered on a BEA transaction record. This determination will be made within 24 hours of an applicant's initial entry of such information and will be reflected in the address verification field in Amos. SIM's instructions to determine whether a transaction occurred at an address or census tract that meet the definition of a BEA distressed community can be accessed using the link provided in this presentation. The next item I'm going to talk about is the Paycheck Protection Program, also known as PPP. PPP loans that meet the definition of a small business loan, as stated in the BEA Program Supplemental Guidance Glossary, may be submitted with the fiscal year 2021 BEA program application pending final review by the program office. The next update is related to the cap on qualified activity amount, and this is related to transactions that exceed $10 million. Applicants must attach, and the CDFI will consider, a community benefit statement, which is a narrative statement that describes the community benefit of transactions that exceed $10 million. The community benefit statement must be included as an attachment in the notes and attachment section of the application. Now I want to spend a few minutes talking about another important reminder, and that's related to personally identifiable information, also known as PII. PII refers to information that can be used to distinguish or trace an individual's identity, either alone or when combined with other personal or identifying information that is linked or linkable to a specific individual. I'd like to go through each of these bullets to highlight what PII means for your application. First, the CDFI fund does not collect and will not accept PII in Amos or in supporting documentation. Examples of PII include the name of the individual, social security number, driver's license number, or state identification number, a passport number, date of birth, and alien registration number. Next, addresses of the financial activity location should not be redacted. Next, signatures of executed legal documents such as loan agreements and promissory notes should not be redacted. An individual's personal address and other PII should be redacted for legal documents for commercial loans. Applicants must redact all PII or supporting documentation prior to submitting their application. If the CDFI discovers PII during the review of a transaction in Amos, the supporting documentation will be deleted from the application, and the CDFI fund will deem the transaction ineligible. Most importantly, please note that if the CDFI fund discovers PII during the review of a transaction in Amos, the supporting documentation will be deleted from the application record, and the CDFI fund, again, will deem the transaction ineligible. If you have questions, I just wanted to really emphasize that for everyone. If you have questions regarding PII, please contact the CDFI fund via a service request. Note that the supplemental guidance / FAQ provides examples of PII, what's considered appropriate and not appropriate to redact. A few more reminders. Amos has the capability to cross-reference an address with the BEA program eligibility data in SIM and generate a result. For transactions that require an applicant to enter an address, the system will automatically determine that the address geocodes to the census tract and if the census tract is eligible. This determination, again, is performed every 24 hours, every business day. Applicants can log back into Amos after 24 hours and see whether the address that was provided was determined to be in an eligible BEA distressed community. Applicants have until December 10th to enter, edit, or to delete BEA transactions in Amos. The last reminder is that fiscal year 2021 award recipients will be required to comply with the Buy American Act of 1933 with respect to direct administrative expenses. More information on this can be found in the NOFA, which again is located on the BEA page of the CDFI Funds website. This slide lists important dates for you to know. Please, once again, pay attention to the two separate and distinct deadlines for the SF-424 mandatory submission in grants.gov and the electronic application submission in Amos. All times, again, are noted as being Eastern Standard Time. It's important to make sure that your documents are submitted on or before the respective deadline, as failure to do so will result in the application not being considered for an award. The program office is available to answer application-related questions up to 5 p.m. on December 10th, 2021, which is 2 business days before the Amos application is due on December 14th, 2021. Application-related questions received after December 10th will not be answered. The CDFI Funds Information Technology Help Desk will be available to answer any technical questions or resolve any system-related issues through the application deadline of December 14th, 5 p.m. Well, this concludes the 2021 BEA Program Application webinar. Thank you for your participation. We will now open the line for questions.
As a reminder, if you would like to ask a question, it is star and then 1 on your phones. Please record your name clearly when prompted. It is needed in order to introduce your question. Once again, that is star and then 1. Please allow a few moments as we wait for the first question. Our first question is going to come from Everett White. Go ahead. Your line is now open.
Hey, good afternoon, Tanya and Joan. How are you?
Hi, Everett. Good to hear from you. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you all again. I've got a quick question, and then I wanted to just confirm a couple things on what changed. So my quick question relates to subsequent disbursement requests. Because of the timing this year, we shouldn't have many because most of the loans will have dispersed. But I think in the NOFA, the deadline was 15 months from the assessment period. And I don't know that we'll actually, the awards will be announced within 15 months of the assessment period. So I just wondered what the, if y'all talked about how to handle that.
Yeah, Joan, do you want to start responding to that? Then I can chime in.
Sure. So going back to the subsequent payment and the NOFA, so the subsequent payment actually can occur 1 year after the assessment period. So we're looking at for this for the 2021 round, we're looking at the period subsequent to the assessment period as January 1, 2021 to December 20, 2021. And as you mentioned earlier, which is probably correct, that a lot of the, there probably won't be a lot of additional disbursements between that time and the year end. But following that guideline, the period to report on those, to request those subsequent payments would have been March of 2022. So going back to your question, you are correct. Depending on when we announce, there won't be much time. So we have not really considered that, but it's something that Tanya and I can discuss, and we'll get back to you on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then if I could, just real quick, I wanted to just confirm what I think you said in terms of what changed from this round to last round. So I've got just a few things. One, we don't have to enter census tract numbers in Amos this round. Number two, we've got the community benefit statement for transactions $10 million and over. And I think that was just for CRE transactions in prior rounds. Is that right? Is the idea that it's expanded to all transactions this round?
Well, it's related to transactions that exceed $10 million. So it has that's more of a clarification than a change. We just want to make sure applicants understand that if you have a transaction over $10 million, that you must also provide the community benefit statement for why we should consider that statement. And that statement should be included as an attachment in the notes and attachment section of the application. So we just wanted to clarify what's needed for transactions.
Yes, and to add to what Tanya is saying, Everett, is that it only applies to commercial loans. That's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then you updated the priority factors, as you mentioned, Joan. And then there was additional language regarding PII, but it looked to us to be more just of a clarification and not a substantive change in how you're viewing PII. Is that right?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Okay, great. And that was it. I mean, you clarified that PPP loans count if they're an SBL. Just want to make sure that we weren't missing another material change from the guidance between this round and prior rounds.
Yeah, no. Generally, this round is going to be the same as the prior round.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your time. That was all my questions.
Thanks, Everett.
Thank you. At this time, I'm not showing anybody else queued up for questions.
Okay. Then I will actually, Everett participated in our webinar we hosted last week and had a question, in which I will pose here and respond to it in case people are thinking about this, or if not, just so that you know. But the question was that if you apply for and receive RRP funding, can you also apply for and receive a BEA Program Award? And the answer is yes. So BEA program applicants can apply for and receive awards from both the RRP and the BEA program, but note that transactions made using the RRP award cannot count as BEA Qualified Activities. And Dylan, if there are no other questions, I want to again thank you all for participating in this webinar. If something comes up later and you want to reach out to us, please do so. You have our contact information, and we will respond to your questions as quickly as possible.
Thank you. That concludes our conference. You may disconnect at this time. Speakers, you may stay on the line for a post-conference.